Good evening, everyone, and welcome to episode 87 of Masters of the Forge. I'm Adam, and with me, as always, is Jason.
Hey, Adam. Hello, everyone. I think today's going to be a fun episode. I think
I don't have any booze. I'm officially like can't have any. It's just too many carbs.
Ooh.
It's just too many carbs. I gained 5 pounds before our last episode.
Didn't you like down half a bottle or 600 milliliters of tequila?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a lot of carbs, right? Like, plus your body metabolizes alcohol similar to sugar or something like that. I don't know. Anyways, can't do that anymore. So I'm having a delicious pure aqua BPA free purified water with a small packet of Crystal Light like flavoring powder in it.
Cool.
Yum.
I have water that is fresh from, and I use the word fresh with all sorts of amusement, from the Rio Grande that is our southern border. And yeah, if you're familiar with
you can actually drink that?
No, they have to send it through every processing thing ever. So yeah.
Yeah, because from what I understand, it's basically slut. It's like a river in a like hive world, basically.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, that's a good way. In some places, well, I don't know if you're familiar with the Terry Pratchett in the Discworld series. It's kind of the Ankh-Morpork River, It's like you can walk across it, because the water is so turgid. I don't know even how to explain it. It's kind of disgusting. But,
semi-solid.
Yeah, pretty much. There you go. There are a lot of
my river has chunks.
There are a lot of solids in there. There we go. There we go.
There is so much to talk about in this episode. We should probably just get right to it. First of all, what the heck have you been up to in the hobby, Jason?
Okay, so it's been about a week and a half since we recorded.
It's been a minute.
Yeah, and part of that time I was spent on the road driving from South Texas to Oklahoma, all over Oklahoma, and then back. So I didn't get a whole lot of hobby done.
Marital bliss.
That's
what they call marital bliss.
Well, I'm seeing my grandmother. She just turned 96,
Wow.
Yeah, which is cool. I mean, she's not going to be around much longer because that's just how things go. But I mean, she's healthy.
She sounds like the kind of broad that would live to be 96, though.
Yeah. Hey, man, she eats bacon and eggs constantly. I'm surprised she doesn't smoke a pipe.
She sounds awesome.
I think her grandmother smoked a pipe, though. It's
probably
that whole. There are times that I look at the family genealogy and it's like, how are we not dead? What?
Is that the gringo side or?
That's the. Oh God, I don't even know how to explain. They're European. We'll just say with that.
Okay.
They're European. Okay, so because I was off doing those things, I did some hobby. I added some more bits to the Cadus Next kit bash that I talked about last week. I'm still not completely happy with it. I want to add more to make him look even more cool. And let's see. Last night I built a jump pack apothecary. Try saying that 3 times fast. That also needs more bits. It's cool, but I can do more with it. I know that. Mm-hmm. I am using the Mark 6 jump pack, the single engine. Those are so cool. I need to probably go buy more of those somehow.
They are so awesome.
That Sanguinary Guard box has so many awesome little bits that it's just kind of obnoxious. They've got a couple of swords that are really sweet because they're long. They've got the extended hilt. They've got all sorts of other cool stuff. So let's see. I'm currently trying to map out like a cool Praetor that I can build for the Thousand Sun army I'm running. Let's see what else. I reread Monastery of Death by Charles Stross, which is an older short story from Black Library, like older, like maybe mid to early 90s. Strauss is a really good author, and I've read a couple of his other books, and I really like his stuff. It's not Bolter-born by any stretch of the imagination. It's those interesting political intrigue short stories that should have been a lot longer. Also in the hobby, I started reading a novel for a future podcast interview that will not be named at this time. And I have been studying... Wow, I wrote it like that. I've been reading and studying the Inferno book, but I actually refer to it as The Precious in my notes. I'm going to try to, try not to do that. It is a... Pretty much. The lore in there is kind of unreal. The rules are pretty cool as well. So anyways, I've been studying that. Tomorrow I'm doing a small teaching demo game. And I'm actually just going to take some Horus Heresy Thousand Suns because it's a really low point game. And they're probably going to beat me because I think everyone else is running, nastier things. But it'll give me a chance to field a couple of units and get the feel for them. Like there's a Psychic Scout unit with sniper rifles. It's pretty cool.
That sounds rad as hell.
Yeah, the rules on it are, like, fun. It might actually make me go build more sniper scouts because it's just, scouts that are psychic that can say, you know what, you don't have cover save. Bye-bye. That's cool. Let's see.
Scout seems to be the kind of thing you'd put scouts in.
Yeah. And these guys are pretty cool, so I'm pretty happy about that. Let's see what else. I'm also going to take the Psychic Dreadnought. They've got a rule for that that's pretty cool. Hold on real quick.
Jason's looking something up, and I got the mic to myself. I get to sing me a song about how Jason's looking up rules. It better be good, because I'm not getting any younger. And I can't carry a tune to save my life. Ba-doo-boo-boo. And I ain't got no rhythm. Cause I ain't no round eye. Jesus. Mama just killed a man.
Yeah, I'm back. Sorry about that.
Welcome back.
Let's see. Hold on. Where did I come back at? Back at 15:10.
15:10. I'm looking up the page. Gonna find what I'm looking for because I'm literate.
Okay, where were we? I don't know. I don't either. Oh yeah, I'm taking that Psychic Dread, so I have to
That's good.
do a little bit of minor conversion to add a force weapon onto the arm of the Contemptor Dread.
Rad.
And this next one, I think I'm going to take Armin also. I'm not going to try and...
Duh!
Yeah, because I think he'll be fun to take, and I've got the mini. It's not painted, but whatever. So, yeah. So, Psychic Dread, Psychic Scouts, little old Mr. Armin, and an assault squad that has an apothecary. So, we'll see what happens. Hopefully it'll be cool. No matter what, I'm going to have fun, so...
Nice.
And I'm not trying to win. I'm just going to try and learn the rules for these guys, because they're not the rule set's not difficult. It's just not the same as everything else.
Yeah, we get in. Well, the way 40K has been homogenized in this recent couple editions. We're all used to these all samey rules, just used in different ways.
Yeah.
Where Horus Heresy and Age of Sigmar are very much. Everything kind of has its own thing.
Yeah.
So it's a lot to remember.
Yeah. So, but there's that. So cool. I think that's about all of my hobby progress. What about yours? I know you've done a lot of gazpacho lately.
Lots of gazpacho. I've been, Yeah, I'm really trying to do a lot more hobby to stave off eating desires. I'm kind of trying to, and it's been kind of working. I didn't do my Legion of the Damned as I reported in my last in your hobby segment. I decided to switch right to the dorks because I am going to Astro.
Yeah.
And I needed to move on and start doing that. So I've got the skull cannon finished, which I did a mod with some legs, some plastic. Well, they're actually plastic arms from the toy model that I built the Reaver Titans from.
Oh, okay.
Back in the day, like a couple of years ago. And so those arms I turned into legs, and I kind of attached those to the back wheel of the skull cannon, and I didn't even use the front wheel. And then, of course, I put a couple of Savage Orcs on there instead of using the Bloodletters. It looks pretty good. I also used a Grotzuka from the Kill-A-Can kit for the front of the cannon, and it worked out pretty well. I used some bits to give the front a lower jaw. The skull cannon's mouth is a little small. It's very like a pursed lips almost. So I gave it a more orky lower jaw. So I think it turned out pretty good. I got a lot of nice comments about it. And I love the skull cannon in general. 12, 12, 10, 5 up in Vuln. It's a pretty neat thing, and it helps your guy's assault better. Like if it shoots and it either does a hit or does a wound, I can't remember. The enemy counts as you count as having assault grenades when you assault.
Got it.
That unit. So that's pretty sweet because my entire army doesn't have grenades.
Yeah, that could be a bit of a problem, especially if you're running through cover or stuff like that.
Yeah.
I was able to actually take out a demon prince once because he didn't have.
Yeah, grenades.
Yeah. Of course, he also ran into a 20-man. What was it? 20-man assault squad.
Yeah, that'll happen.
It's like, 4 flamers. Yeah, there's some auto hits. Then we're just gonna sit here and punch you to death, and I think we left 1 wound on him just on that first charge, and the next turn he was gone. So that was fun.
Brutal.
That was a fun game.
Brutal. And I also painted some bloodletters. I painted 18 more bloodletters to go with the 20 I already have. So I can run 4 full squads of 8 or more bloodletters now. Yeah. Which is really nice. I tried that out in a game, and I really like them. That's really fun. It's nice to have all those bodies on the field.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
So now, Jason mentioned gazpacho. What I do with all of my dorks is I use the Blood for the Blood God technical paint for the bases. The way I do that is I get the model finished, and I even do the black ring for the base. Then I get some plaster of Paris plaster. Well, I have dental stone, which is really nice. We use that for casting, but if you can't get dental stone, I mean, it can be a little expensive. Regular plaster will do because you're gonna cover it with lots of coats. So I take that and I would gunk some of that on the base. And I add some bits. So, like, for me, it's the Blood World, so I put some skulls on some of the bases and maybe some other skeletal bits. And then when that dries really quickly because it's plaster and it sets really quickly. Yeah, it doesn't dry, it sets. And then after that, I go ahead and I clear coat the whole model. And then I do a few random other things. Then I do the full tester's dull coat. I do the clear coat. Then I paint the base pink.
Yeah.
Then I clear coat with the dull coat. Because after I paint the base pink, I need to touch up that black rim. And then, so after I do the dull coat, then I put the gazpacho on. I put the Blood for the Blood God on. That way it's nice and shiny. So that and it kind of needs to be shiny because my bloodletters and most of my demons are red, so it's red on red. So the contrast needs to exist in the patina. Or else it would be really, really samey. It would be super... Like, it would almost be better if the bases were not blood bases.
Yeah.
But I'm already way too far down that rabbit hole to ever go back.
Oh,
so,
I think you're talking to the right person here for that sort of...
Yeah. I think you can talk me out of rebasing these models pretty quickly.
Yeah. Whenever I spend more time building bases than the actual model... Yeah, but hey, so that's what wins best painted. That's what make people, really stand up and look at your stuff and really pushes the hobby forward, which is something that
put effort.
Something we do.
Effort is important. We love effort.
Just afterwards, we feel like, well, I don't know what we feel like. It's not fun though.
Tired.
Yeah.
Broken inside. So I have a couple more units to paint for Astro. And then I'm gonna probably work on a scenic display board for the dorks, which means I'm probably gonna have to buy a couple bottles of Blood for the Blood guy.
You made fun of Skip for doing stuff like that.
Yeah,
I like this. This is coming full circle. It makes me feel warm and fuzzy.
Let's just say I'm thinking that how Tuska is riding a wave of blood.
Yeah, that the blood surfboard. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking that there needs to be a actual I think he needs to be hanging 10 on a much larger wave.
That. You're asking the wrong person to try and talk you down off of that.
Can you imagine a literal red tide, a literal blood tide coming in on this display board? It'll just be all these demon orcs. Instead of a green tide, it's the red tide. And I'll just put I'll put Tuska's red tide, and then people will make jokes that are inappropriate. Anyways, the two units I'm working on, I got all excited. I talked myself into it. I think on the Slack discussion, or not Slack, Discord, our Discord channel, because I was just sitting there talking about how, I have been saying that I'm not going to do Grots. I'm not going to do Grots. Why didn't you do Grots? Why didn't you do Grots for your pink horrors? I'm I didn't think it made sense. And then I'm oh, but you know what? They just came out with blue horrors. I can't play my pink horrors now without buying some blue horrors. Well, I guess. So,
this is so delicious.
Yeah. So now I have 20 plus, I have 20 plastic night goblins. And so I'm going to take these guys and use their, they're Gretchen with robes. And you can either pick a bow or a close... I'm going to pick the close combat weapon with the shield, because you can almost say that's their invuln save or whatever. Yeah. The shields have moons on them. I'm going to cover up the moons with green stuff, and I'm going to paint stars on them, I think. And these Gretchen... The Gretchen are going to be pink still, because that's going to kind of be my... I'm a Psyker type color... I'm from Demon's Codex instead of Demonkin Codex, so people don't get confused. But I'll paint these robes blue.
Okay, that'll be good. That'll be good to differentiate.
And so, yeah, they'll be able to. And then I went on eBay and I picked up from my favorite bit seller. Well, not bit seller. It's more like retro gaming and 40K seller. What's his name?
Lazarus.
Thank you, Lazarus Games. I've been doing business with them since 2011. I have no problem plugging them on the podcast because they always come through for me. Everything is always exactly as if you do business with Lazarus Games, you're gonna get what they show.
Yeah,
you're not gonna get screwed over.
I saw some cool stuff in their shop. I will probably order something fairly soon, just because there was some really cool Mark III, or not Mark III, but some of the Mark I rhinos that were pretty nice. Yeah, and always pay where you play, but there are some things you just can't get.
I have these. I picked up 22 runts, which they're all metal models. One of them is actually a little wizard.
Aww.
A teeny little wizard sticking his middle finger up at you. It's fantastic.
Yeah, actually, that is
and
pretty
it's legit.
Cool.
It's not like the new Gretchen who have their finger up. All the new Gretchen have their pointer finger up so as not to insult.
Yeah.
But this one legit is sticking up the middle finger. He is fantastic. And his robe is already blue, which is great. Yeah. But everybody else, these guys are just going to be straight up pink, which I think is okay because they're so tiny. And I put 2 to a base so I can run them as Brimstone Horrors.
Okay.
So that should be cool. I also have the 4 Night Goblins that came with my giant squigs.
Yeah.
That I used as, what do you call them? Spawn.
Uh-huh.
I didn't actually put the Night Goblins on there because I didn't think it made sense. So I have 4 extra Night Goblins so I can make 24 blue horrors. So I'll have 24 blue horrors, 11 Brimstone Horrors, and if I summon more than that, I don't deserve it, so it's fine. I don't deserve more than that. So especially at a friendly tournament, so it'll just be for whimsy, not for overpowering, multiplication of units. It's just for fun. So that's what I'm doing. We're running long here in the intro, but I did play a couple of narrative games with Connor and James. We're going to talk about Connor's game later, but I played a game with James from the Wrath of Magnus book. We played one of the taco missions, the demon one. He took the role of the demons, even though he was playing Chaos Space Marines. Thousand Suns. That's where you pull 9 tactical objectives at a time, but at the end of your turn.
Oh,
which was real.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just doing 3 like normal, but he was pulling 9 at the end, and then scoring 3 of them. Which he ran out of tactical. So I didn't know this, but if you run out of tactical objectives in your deck or in the table, like if you roll the table, you're actually supposed to write down which ones you've already drawn, because you can't draw it again.
Yeah.
You can't have it again. So you actually run out of tactical objectives by the end of the game. So by the end of turn 4, he's out of tactical objectives.
Yeah.
But he scored every turn. He was getting at least 3 points every turn. He ended with like 18 or 19 points.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. But I was only 1 behind.
Yeah, because you could continue to score through 5 and 6. If it goes to 6, if it goes to 7.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But it was really fluffy and it was really fun. We had a great time. It was a fun game. I'd never felt like maybe on turn 4 I was feeling like, how am I gonna even catch up? And I could have caught up if it went to 7. It didn't. It only went to 6. But I had a great time, and I think it was like 19 to 18 or something. So it's not like, and I killed everything except for the big unit of Ahriman and Terminators and
that's
all that. Yeah, that's tough. But he had some endurance going, so that was pretty epic. I just kept on throwing stuff at it, and this is where I'm saying the blood letters, the blood boys were really, really cool. They did a good job just being there and being bodies, even more so in some ways than the flesh hounds.
Yeah.
I just thought they were really nice to have, so I'm excited to use those because they're in the core formation, so they get the secondary ability when I use my blood tithe. Tuska tried to summon himself through the brain of one of my cultist champions. That didn't work out for him. Oh well. He can't show up to every party. I just think that cultist champion wasn't motivated.
I'm going to agree with you. Yeah.
All right, cool. So We'll talk about the Zorn 4 War next week. This intro is getting kind of long already. And we have an interview with the Astronomicon guys coming up in a couple minutes after these words.
Hello, everyone. The Masters of the Forge is now a proud member of the NPC, the Narrative Podcast Consortium. Our aim is to inspire your hobby through the rich lore of the 41st millennium. If you enjoy our podcast, then make sure to check out these other awesome shows where you can get coverage on campaigns, Black Library, and all kinds of general topics of the 40K background.
The NGC 40K podcast also provides in-depth campaign coverage, audio dramas, and free-flowing narrative campaign creation.
The Adeptus Terra podcast also features in-depth discussions of the lore and commentary on the hobby.
Oh, and sexy English voices.
Oh, yeah.
The Masters of the Forge brings the world of 40K to life on your tabletop, with discussion on the lore, backed up by narrative-themed rules and battle reports.
Of course, this is only a fraction of the topics covered by the podcasts of the NPC. Please tune in to find out more.
Greetings, mofos!
Are you out of George Dickel number 8, staring at a broken chess machine?
Well, don't want to spend the rest of the year tied to that couch?
Well, why don't you head on over to the 1 Hour a Night Facebook page and see what exciting stuff is going on there. It's a place to post all your daily progress in the hobby grind, as well as receive and give positive feedback. Also, there are usually a few interesting challenges going on.
That's right. All you have to do is search for 1 Hour a Night on Facebook. That's numeral 1 Hour a Night, all one word. Blood serum tests will be administered prior to approval.
Se til helvete og kom dere vekk. Det ikke bikkje, det en slags ting. Den imiterer bikkje, men det ikke det. Kom dere vekk, idioter!
What he said. Well, welcome back. We have a special treat for everyone today. On the horn, as they say, I've got Mike Major from Astronomicon here with me. How you doing, Mike?
Good evening. Not too bad. Not too bad.
Now, you are part of a duo who puts on these Astronomicon events, and I had no idea that your events are actually cover quite more distance than just Toronto. Is that true?
Yes, absolutely. We've been around for a long time. Our first event was in 2001.
Uh-huh.
And at one point in time, we were actually running 4 events a year in 4 different cities in 2 different countries.
Wow.
These days, we're just down to 2. We used to do Winnipeg, which is where we're from, Toronto, and then we added Vancouver, and for a while we did a couple of events in Dallas, Texas.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty cool, actually. It was nice to go down south during the cold winter months.
It also sounds like a lot of work.
Well, yes, it can be, although after 16-ish years, we have gotten a fair number of efficiencies due to practice.
Yeah, that'll do her. And, you know, whether it comes a certain point where you reach critical mass with the terrain, too, I assume.
Yes and no, although it depends on, certainly locally. I mean, we've got quite a lot of terrain that we own. Although, and at one point in time early on, we used to fly with it. That got expensive and, of course, difficult because stuff would get broken by the airline baggage gorillas and the like. These days, wherever possible, although we certainly could fly with terrain if we had to, we try to source our terrain locally. For Toronto, we're very fortunate. The community there is very strong. We also get a lot of support from the folks at Phoenix Games in Kingston, who lend us probably roughly half, maybe a little more than half of our terrain, which is a super nice thing for them to do. They also have a really very nice new store. So as a plug for them, if you're in Kingston, please check out Phoenix Games. The folks there are great, and they're super nice and helpful, and they have a very nice collection of stuff. And the fellow, Ken, who runs it, is a terrific painter as well.
That's awesome. That's really cool. Yeah, I was, part of the reason why I had you on is because I'll be going to Astronomicon this year, and it's 6 o'clock. It's or 7 o'clock.
7 o'clock here, but
it's
yes.
quitting time.
Antique Silesian clock.
We'll just leave that in. So is that the chiming of the end times? Is that what that is?
If so, my clock's wrong.
I'll be coming up for the first time, and I'm really excited about it because it's semi-local to me. I'm living in upstate New York. It's about a 6-hour drive. It's not so bad. I'm staying with a buddy in I forgot the name of the town, but I'm staying with a friend for a couple days, and then we're staying at the hotel during the event. We're taking the time to stop over at Mini Wargaming too to have a game, so that's pretty sweet.
Very cool.
What really made me look at your event is I noticed, and a buddy of mine, Tim, he said that you guys do narrative missions, or at least the missions are tied to your terrain tables. And I thought that was really awesome. Can you describe how that works?
Sure. I'll give you a bit of history to go with it, because it kind of came about as a synergy. Both Christian and myself are longtime tournament players as well, or were. These days, having a family and a job and everything, don't have quite so much time to do that anymore. But back in 1999, I was the Canadian national champion for 40K, and Christian also would go out to the Toronto GT in Canada as well. And the year after, in 2000, we went out to the Chicago GT in the States. And while we were there, we were talking, and one of the representatives, this was when Games Workshop was first starting off their Rogue Trader tournament system. And one of the people there, Jeremy Vitok, who I think he now works for Fantasy Flight Games, if I recall correctly, but he worked for Games Workshop for years, approached us and said, well, you guys know what you're doing. Why don't you run a Rogue Trader event for us, one of the early ones? And we're like, well, I guess we could do that. And he goes, I'll tell you what, if you guys run a Rogue Trader event for us, we will come up and cover it for the White Dwarf for North America. And we thought, well, that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So it's about a 15-hour drive, 18-hour drive from Chicago to Winnipeg. And driving back on the trip, we started talking about this, and we said, well, if we were going to design an event, what kind of event would we as players want to go to? And we thought, well, one of the problems with events is that, the terrain is always the same. The scenarios are usually frequently very uninspired, and when they are attempting to be narrative, they're often unbalanced or just kooky, or sometimes just downright unfun.
Yeah, how many missions have we played, like, from a burgeoning mission writer that's like, okay, so it's like regular kill points, except you get an orbital strike every turn.
Right. So that's at least something. At least they're trying to be creative. But as you say, right, and of course, as long as both sides get an orbital strike every turn, well, it's at least balanced. Right. But it doesn't really add much to the story. So on the way home, we actually started writing our very first scenario on a laptop while we were on the drive. And the very first scenario we wrote, we said, let's go really out there. Let's even have, what would be really different? And I said, well, I got this. This is back in the days before GW even made Bane Blades. Okay. And I said, well, I got an armor cast Bane Blade. Why don't we have that shooting at both players?
Nice.
He's like, really? Can we do that? I'm like, why not? And so our very first scenario that was written in that car on the way back was called Sink the Bane Blade. We still run it most years. Of course, the Bane Blade's a little bit more deadly now with the big 10-inch template and stuff. But both sides sort of start hidden behind terrain and stuff. The Bane Blade's rampaging down the middle of the table. It's shooting at both players, and the players get points both for destroying it and for destroying each other. And that's how we got started. And after that, it was a matter of, well, this isn't about just killing each other. This is about telling stories, about having fun, about really bringing people into the 40K universe. And that's what we wanted to do right from the very first event. These days, it's a little bit more challenging. There are a great many competitive players who are just really interested in in winning. Not all of them, of course. I mean, many of them, there are still competitive players who are superb painters and who really enjoy the hobby. And you have the full range, everything from the very, very competitive types to the very, very narrative types. We have always been, early on, we started getting being described as the tournament for people who don't like tournaments, which
nice.
We're not really, we don't really have a problem with. And while we do get a certain amount of the competitive stuff, a lot of the crazy missions does curb some of that. Mm-hmm. The fact that we retain soft scores such as sportsmanship and painting and things curbs more of it. Mm-hmm. And we also have a composition system which intends to, although let me tell you, that's another long conversation about how difficult composition systems are to design in the 40K world of formations. But regardless, it intends to curb the very worst of the killy armies. Not saying that you can't take them. You can take anything that's legal. And we don't, that has always been our philosophy, is we want you to take anything that you can reasonably take that makes the game fun. We allowed flyers when no one allowed flyers. We allowed, I think as far as I know, we were the only tournament ever that I've ever heard of anyway, that used to allow the vehicle design rules.
Oh, nice.
And we allowed them, and believe it or not, like all these people, oh, it's so broken, you build all these. Well, never once did we have anyone show up with something from the VDR that was awful or broken or stupid or bad. Mm-hmm. Everything that people brought was downright cool. And we did reserve the right to vet it, because we wanted to make sure, but we never really had to be particularly difficult about it, and people brought the coolest things. We had one guy who had brought elephants.
That is fantastic.
It was so cool.
That's great. Yeah. And people buy their models, and there's no reason to not let them go ahead and play with them. Right. That's kind of the whole point.
Exactly. Exactly. And that really is exactly the point. I mean, you've bought these models. Now, the really big heavy duty stuff, like the super heavies, the Lords of War, we had a long conversation about that, because as much as we would like to allow people to use those things, and we're actually looking at creating a secondary event called the Imperium Besiege, where we would allow people to use those things and have larger armies and stuff. The problem with them is we actually went to a bunch of our players and we said, okay, guys, here's some scenarios that we use. And by the way, over the years, we've written well over 100 custom scenarios. And we said, go ahead, try them out with Lords of War, without Lords of War. Tell us what you think. Should we allow them? Should we not allow them? What do you guys want? What do you guys say? And, it was funny because even the very competitive people were like, don't allow them. They make the game not fun. Mm-hmm. And we're like, well, okay, then I guess that answers that question.
Yeah, no, it's not that big a deal. It'll really be nice just to put a load of miniatures on the battlefield anyways, and tell some stories over the course of a weekend. That'll be a lot of fun. So so you say you locally source terrain. I was actually thinking about bringing some terrain with me. If folks want to help out with terrain, should they contact you ahead of time so that you can decide either what mission to use or what scenario to use, or to develop a scenario? Should they do that very soon?
The earlier, the better.
Okay.
And we do encourage people to bring terrain. We also, unlike a lot of other events, we provide a prize for best terrain as well.
That's cool. That's really
well.
Cool.
A lot of people put a lot of work into their terrain collection, and we felt that it was very important to recognize that. I mean, think about it, right? You paint one troop model, there's a couple of hours, right? How long does it take? How much effort goes into building an entire table? Particularly if it's a really beautiful one.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So it really is important to recognize that. And, of course, the fact that people create these gorgeous tables and they'll send us pictures of them. And once or twice we've had to say, that particular table is not quite up to snuff. Could you bring something else? But it's pretty rare that we've ever had to say that. Most people have nice terrain collections. And where possible, particularly when the table is inspiring, we'll write a custom scenario for that table and make sure that we give a copy of it to the player at the end so they can take it home with them.
Cool. That is awesome. That's really awesome. So, let's see. Let's get some of the factoids and the quid pro quos out there. The Astronomicon that's coming up in April. That's April
29th and 30th.
29th and 30th. And where is it in Toronto, or is it in a town like nearby?
Just on the outskirts. The actual town is called Milton, Ontario. Mm-hmm. It's sort of a bedroom community for Toronto, and it's just west of Toronto. Best Western Plus Milton, 161 Chisholm Drive, Milton, Ontario.
If folks aren't staying at the Best Western, what time do you think they should show up to the event on Saturday?
Well, our doors usually open at 9. Mm-hmm. So there's usually people fluttering about. The nice thing about the Best Western is they have a lovely lobby the venue space is just off the lobby. Mm-hmm. There's couches. There's usually people hanging out. There's a great breakfast place just adjacent. So if people want to get there a little early, certainly there won't be any difficulty, and there'll probably be folks to chat with and everything else. And if we're there, we'll open the doors a little early as well. The actual first game starts at 10 on Saturday. And we do accept walk-ins, although if possible, pre-registration is approved. And this event does tend to sell out. We're a little over half full right now. So if you're thinking about walking in, maybe check the website. We do try to keep it updated. And if it's looking pretty close to full and you're not sure, fire us off an email. We wouldn't want somebody to come and plan on playing to find out that the event had filled up and travel a long way for nothing. That said, if you're a local, folks who come to visit the event are more than welcome. There's no charge for coming in and stopping by and checking it out, enjoying the terrain and having a look at things.
Cool. That's great. And so anybody who's thinking about going from out of town, you should probably go ahead and schedule yourself to stay overnight, because the game's going until about 8 in the evening. That's correct.
Thereabouts, yes.
Yeah. So, and then you probably want to hang out afterwards, anyways. Do you need anybody to come in on Friday to help set up?
We never turn away assistance. It's always nice when folks come along. I mean, we can and will and do it on our own on occasion, but it's always nice to have it. Nice to have extra people, and in addition, of course, you get the chance to socialize and hang out, meet folks, and everything else, which is always very nice. Both Christian and myself have made a great many very good friends over the years running these events, and people that even if we weren't running events, we would still go and visit even outside of the event. And we have people from all walks of life, everything from university students to emergency room doctors, police officers, you name it. We actually, many years ago, we actually had a fellow overdid it a bit, didn't stay hydrated, and actually keeled over at the event hall. And so we're all sitting there, and of course, we're immediately getting into action, with first aid and stuff like that. I'm ex-military, so I've got some first aid training and things. And this one fellow comes in and immediately starts going, you do this, 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 and really knew his stuff. And we're kind of like, wow, you really got a handle on this. He goes, well, guys, I am an emergency room doctor. And we're like, oh, we didn't actually know that. Okay, then. Well, we'll just let you handle that then. We got a little sidetracked, and we were going to be talking about scenarios. Did you want me to jump back to that?
I was just talking about, you gave one example of one of the scenarios that you guys played. Do you have any other favorites that you've come up with?
Oh, yes, many. One of the ones that I really enjoy, and like I said, we've written well over 100 over the years. Generally, an event like Toronto usually has about 26, 27 tables. Now, each table will have its own scenario that is matched to the terrain, and each player or pair of players, you will only ever play that particular player once, and you will only ever play on that table once. So you will never play the same scenario at the same event more than once. And of course, of the 26, 27 different scenarios, each player will only play 6, meaning that each player's experience is going to be very different.
Yeah, everybody's going to have a very unique experience.
And that is by design.
Oh, yeah, that's cool.
We do try very hard to balance the scenario mix so that there are some scenarios that favor assault armies, some scenarios that favor shooting heavy armies. So some will have open terrain, some will have limited visibility, some will have very dense terrain, things of that nature. And it is possible that you may get a scenario that disadvantages your army. You may get a scenario that really advantages your army. Yeah. The key thing to do, and this also is by design. It's interesting because many people will sometimes get a scenario. We had a fellow who, we have a scenario called Over the Top, which is based loosely on World War I and has 2 trench lines. Cool. And the area in between the trench lines is a mire of blood, muck, shell holes, and poison gas, and it's all dangerous terrain. So anyone traveling between the 2 trenches, and of course the objective is to get into the other person's trenches. So this whole area between the 2 trenches is just deadly, and this one fellow who's got all these vehicles is like, oh man, I'm so totally humped. There's no way I'm going to be able to do anything with this scenario. I'm like, well, you know, all you can do is do your best. I mean, if you were faced with this as a general in the battlefield, that's what you'd have to do. And he's like, yeah, I guess so. It's going to be so hard. And off he goes, and he was kind of a little unhappy about it. And I come by at the end of the game, and he's like, I won! I can't believe it, I won! I was like, well, there you go. Good attitude. Well done. And that happens, and it's lovely to see. There are some scenarios where there are third parties on the table, like the Baneblade that we mentioned, or packs of Gene Stealers that may leap out. We have one scenario where we actually use old rogue trader beasts called ambles that burrow up out of the ground and will wander around attacking things.
That sounds like fun.
But one of my favorite scenarios, and this was inspired by a terrain set that, and it will almost certainly be at Astronomicon Toronto, is a scenario called Stormfront. Stormfront was inspired. It's sort of a desert type scenario. It's a large hill in the middle, and there's some sort of adobe-like buildings, little orky in look, and very, very nice terrain. But Stormfront is cool because it has these 3 sort of crescents, and those represent exactly what the name of the scenario is: the front of a sandstorm. After you set up, you figure out which side of the table, the narrow end, that the sandstorm will start on. And then each turn, each of those crescents advances across the table by a certain number of inches, and everything behind them is in sandstorm. Visibility, highly restricted, planes crash, all kinds of bad things happen. And so you're faced with this kind of going, wow. You know, when you're setting up, you're not even sure which side of the table the sandstorm is going to come from. And, well, both sides have to deal with it. And it's a lot of fun. Christian and I actually had the opportunity to play the scenario last year against each other because we had an even number of people, and early on we just had some extra time. So we sat down and played each other on that scenario because that particular table wasn't in use. And we're like, wow, we got to play this more often. This is a fun scenario.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I must say, you know, I'm really looking forward to coming to the event because a lot of what we do here at Masters of the Forge is, you know, well, our tagline is bringing the world of 40K to life on your tabletop. So we're not just a lore podcast. We're kind of taking the lore and putting it into practical use. And I'm thinking I'm going to be quite inspired by my trip this year, and I'm really looking forward to that.
Well, thanks. I mean, we do the best we can to ensure that everybody has a good time. And of course, for folks who enjoy narrative style scenarios and gaming, these are the people who are going to get the most out of the event, because we one of our very, very experienced players who's been with us almost since the beginning is a local fellow from Winnipeg named Rod Murray. He always says, he sort of misquotes Blood Diamond, Brad Pitt from Blood Diamond, where he goes, "This is Africa." He goes, This is Astronomicon. Anything can happen. And anything will.
Fantastic. Well, that's what I like to hear. So April 29th to the 30th in, what was the town again?
Milton, Ontario, which, like I said, just at the very edge of Toronto.
But if you want to if you want to learn anything, like any more details about it, you just go to www.astronama-con.com. And I think a Google search will get you where you need to go anyways. You'll just go up if you want to look at the tournament rules. It looks like everything is pretty standard between your events, so they'll just have the same rules set and gameplay and all, and all the appearance scoring is all the same. So just grab them in that drop down menu up there.
That's correct.
Cool.
And the other thing to keep in mind is that there are a couple of very important points about the scoring system that probably bear mentioning, that some people may want to know. One of the things that we really try hard to do is ensure that the scoring system is absolutely as objective as possible. Very little subjectivity. So the painting, probably the most subjective thing is paint scoring, but the grid and how we score is right there on the website. If you're realistic with yourself, we tell people that you should come within 2 or 3 points of where we'll rate you. And if there's a problem with that, please come talk to us. Sportsmanship scoring is used. Comp scoring is all right up front. There's a whole grid on how to do it, so you'll know beforehand exactly what you're getting. And for those things that are subjective, for instance, the best army, the best single miniature, and the best terrain, as organizers, we have nothing to say on these particular awards. They are voted on by the attendees. Yeah. All we do is count the votes.
That's really smart. That's a smart way to do it. A lot of, I do something similar in my events. For a lot of, like for paint scores, I do, even best painted, I have a rubric, but if there's a tiebreaker, it's all player votes. That way I can stop sweating bullets.
We have a fairly one thing we do need to put up on our website that I don't think is up there yet is we actually have a fairly detailed tiebreaker system, and we keep talking about putting it on the website and we keep forgetting to do it. So we're our bad on that one, but we do. It does exist, and we will show it to you. And it is again not subjective. It's printed out and we go by it religiously.
Yeah, the documentation on the website is excellent. Like you say, if you go on there, you will pretty much know what all of your soft scores are going to be before you even hit the dust in Milton. That is absolutely you'll be at least within a couple points, I'm sure.
That is certainly our goal. Oh, that said, of course, you won't be able to know your sportsmanship scores because those are assigned by your opponents.
Well, I'm just going to be pretty hard to figure those out. Full points on that one,
and many people do. Many people do.
Oh, okay, great. Well, is there anything else you want to add, Mike, before we close out the interview? It's been really great talking to you, and talking to you has gotten me even more excited about attending the event.
Well, my pleasure. And thank you very much for the opportunity. If people do have any questions, our emails are on the website, and you can also leave messages for us from the website. We also have a Facebook page for Astronomicon. My particular email is mmajor@astronomy-con.com, and Christian's is xian at astronomic-con.com. So feel free to contact us. We like to think that we're relatively okay guys, and we'll talk to you, and we'll do our best to answer any questions to help out. We do like Army lists submitted in advance where possible so that we can double check the comp scoring, and we use the comp scoring for first seed so that the high comp armies will play the high comp armies and the lower comp armies will play the lower comp armies at the start of the tournament.
That's a great way to
after do it. Which and after that it's all Swiss.
Well, yeah, so, I mean, if you have a low comp army but you're whooping on people, you deserve to play high comp armies.
Exactly, because you're probably a superb player.
Yep, exactly.
And we do. The awards, of course, there's a best overall, there's best painted, there's best army, best sportsman, best general, best terrain, best single miniature, and best terrain. There's 8 awards in total.
Cool.
None of them are monetary. They're all trophies.
Awesome.
We do have various prizes and the like, but those are all done with the door prize system. So
Nice.
when it comes to models and stuff like that, that's all door. That's all done by tickets, and we give you tickets when you come in. And if you want to support the event, you're more than welcome to buy a few more tickets from us. If there is a prize you really absolutely must have, all proceeds go to supporting the event, and keeping us able to do these kinds of things. It's been a passion of ours for a long time. We really enjoy it. It is a lot of work, but it's extremely worthwhile.
Yeah, it's very rewarding, and our people in our community are usually for the most part, really cool people and appreciative of what tournament organizers do. Like I said, I'm really looking forward to it, Mike, and I sure hope to see a few. I hope to see a few listeners up there in April. But unless there's anything else, we'll see you there, buddy.
Alrighty, well, have a safe trip on the drive up, and we'll see you in a few weeks.
All right, cool. Peace.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Do you play more than one mini war game? Or do you like listening to shows which discuss other games and pan hobby topics? Combat Phase is a weekly podcast covering the whole hobby for gamers. We also interview a lot of Black Library authors. Join Kenny and Robert as they try to grow the hobby. Combat Phase, the best part of the game, is on iTunes and www.combatphase.com. Interested in the offbeat world of 40K? Is your bits box full of 20-year-old space elves? Have you ever searched for something out of production 40K on eBay? Well, hold on to your zotes and head over to Corsair Radio. It covers the full scope of the hobby, homebrew rules, fluff, campaigns, oddball models, and more. From Terra to the Eye of Terror, visit us at corsairradio.blogspot.com. That's corsairradio.blogspot.com.
Welcome back. Thanks for listening to that. That was a nice conversation. Now we're going to talk about the Fracture of Biel-Tan on your tabletop. So do you want to start out with the missions, Jason? Does that
sure,
sound
that'll
fun?
work.
So we're going to do some missions, and then we're going to kind of talk in general about the Eldari and the rules for them, but we're going to go straight into some narrative lists after that. So stick around, and this isn't going to be Codex Breakdown.
No. Not at all.
So the first mission of the Echoes of War is the Obsidian Gate. And again, Echoes of War is always their kind of, this is representing a lore thing that happened. Whereas the other one is more generally for a faction. This is more for a story.
Yeah.
It's intended for Chaos Demons and Eldar, but again, I really, all of these can be, I think they intentionally make it so that you can play any of these with any faction.
Yeah, you can reskin this pretty easily and do something else.
Right. So the first one is the Obsidian Gate. It's got a 12-inch demon deployment zone. Then the cool thing is the Eldar deployment zone is this 12-inch wide Obsidian Gate, just on the edge. Yeah. All the Eldar units start in reserve, but they also take the first turn, which is a really good idea for them in this situation. And the Eldar's point is to just destroy the enemy, destroy chaos. So they get a point for each one of those. The Chaos player gets 3 victory points if they destroy the gate wards, and 2 victory points if one of their units leaves through the gate. It's like whenever one of their units leaves through the gate. So before they can leave through the gate, they have to break down these wards, which I thought was really, really, really cool.
Yeah.
the Eldar player can enter the battle with any units on turn 1 from their own short table edge. They can then, after that, come off any of the short table edges or the long table edges, but the short table edges are cliffs.
Yeah.
And only units that are flyers, flying monstrous creatures, stuff like jetpacks, that kind of thing can enter from the side.
Nothing on foot.
But I think that the intention here is that those units just can do that. Yeah. They essentially have outflank because they have flying abilities.
Yeah.
I don't think it's like only if you have outflank. No, it doesn't actually say that. So
yeah, this mission's supposed to be basically the defense of a webway portal for, I think it's for Biel-Tan. Yes, for the Biel-Tan craft world. So if the demons
it's supposed to represent that,
they're getting into the craft world.
That's right. Yeah, and in order for them to be able to do that, they have to break down the gate. Yeah. It's an AV-13 building with 6 hull points and a 4-up invulnerable save. Except against Scarbrand.
Yeah.
Who and you can kind of say that's whoever you want, like someone who has some kind of special knowledge about this construct or whatever. If it's at 9 hull points, the wards are broken, and the demons may exit via the gate by going in base contact with at least one model. Yeah. So that's really cool. I like this mission. There's so much you can kind of do with this.
Yeah.
You can do a long board edge and do like vehicles, flyers. You could do it with flyers. This actually could be more of you could do a whole, like, combine this with other missions, like the one from Wrath of Magnus. Remember that one that's Curse of the Wolfen. Remember in Curse of the Wolfen when the demons and the fast space wolves were running along?
Oh, yeah.
Chasing each other? It could be at the end of it, there's this portal that they have to get through or something like that.
That could be a lot of fun.
Yeah, you could definitely combine those two missions together, and it would work. You could also combine it with the As Above, So Below mission, where underground you have the gate, but above ground you might have like the solar collectors that power the gate, or something like that.
Yeah.
How cool would that might work out real nice too. You're going to want some guys down below to get out, but you also want some guys above destroying the power source that shields the entrance.
That could be a team game. Have one person in the essentially Zone Mortalis table, and then
smart. Yeah, you could do like 2 different games going. You could literally have 4 people playing 2 different games that affect each other.
Yeah. That could be fun.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah,
like in the Zone Mortalis, the models are controlling turrets that are above ground. So below ground is affecting above ground, and above ground is affecting below ground. That would be super cool.
That would be a lot of fun. That would actually be quite a bit of fun.
Look at it! Look at us changing lives, building narratives.
Yeah, we can't help ourselves. What can we blow up next?
Mission 2 is Architects of Pain.
Ooh.
Yeah, well, I mean, we all know what's going to happen here. This is that fight on the same world, I think it was.
Yeah.
No, it was in the next one. Yeah, it's the next world, where the homunculus covens fight the Ynnari and start causing a havoc, causing a ruckus, because they want the power of the Ynnari.
Yeah.
The Covens get an 18-inch deep deployment zone, whereas the Ynnari players get a 12-inch deep deployment zone, helping out the Coven player a little bit. Yeah. But also, with the Ynnari, they're able to jump up there pretty well. Now, it's a blind deployment for the homunculus player, using numbered tokens. After that, the Ynnari player deploys, and then the homunculus player swaps out the numbered tokens for their units.
Ooh. Oh, that could be fun.
What a wonderful, wonderful, like, thing. That is so... I mean, blind deployment isn't new, but I think it's having it kind of unbalanced is very interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, this could be interesting, because we did
for the
something
narrative.
similar in the Zone Mortalis game, didn't we?
Yeah, they're in Zone Mortalis. You can have blips.
Yeah,
that's really cool.
Well, let me see. Hold on. Does this one allow you to put down objective markers that don't correspond to anything? Like blanks, like, hey, there might be something here or not, or maybe it's a sensor overload, or probably not. But that could be fun as we rewrite these missions.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, like, you know, the area is so unknown to the attacking player, right? You could use this in any kind of mission where the territory is completely unknown to the player, and there's some kind of psychic resonance, or there's some kind of technological reason why, or just fog, you know. Yeah. Or just a heavy fog, you know.
It's like it's right next to the Hudson.
This is a really good. Yeah, right. And it's good because, you know, the one player would have an advantage over the other in this case, you know. And that's fine as long as you make it fun and at least somewhat balanced. At least your victory conditions are valid. And make it not hard. So in this case, if at the end of the game at least one model from the triumvirate of Iniad is still alive and on the battlefield, the Inari player wins.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
So they're giving this great advantage to the homunculus player, but all the Inari player needs to do is keep one model alive, which can be hard, but it's not insurmountable.
And the nice thing is there's a little designer's note that says if any of the triumvirate are slain in the next scenario, the next mission, they are brought back with 1 wound remaining, which is pretty cool. I was just reading that.
That's cool. Yeah, and they also give all the Inari units 6-up Feel No Pain or +1 Feel No Pain.
That could be good.
So there's a few things, like a few minor, well, I guess that's not too minor, but there's things you can do to help out if you feel like one side is overpowering the other. You just have to come up with a reasonably sensible narrative reason for it. And people won't mind. So the next one is called Ancestral Foes. This one also has a pretty sweet deployment.
Oh, yeah.
It's got the Inari player has a 24-inch square deployment zone. And that, you know, if you're playing one of the Zone Mortalis boards, that makes it easy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's 4 1-foot tiles.
Yeah, it's 6 2-foot tiles.
24 inch by 24 inch?
That's that's a 2-foot 2-foot tile, and it's kind of situated in the center of one side of the table.
Yeah, so everything is they could be surrounded on all sides, which is pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. It has the same kind of victory conditions as the last mission. If the triumvirate is alive, they win, but all of the models have to be dead for the enemy player to win. So, and they're playing against Slaanesh in this case, and they have to have the Mask of Slaanesh for the full narrative version of the mission. Yeah. So this one's pretty cool. This one's a little more, I think, generic.
Yeah.
It's cool because there's 5 objectives, one at the center of each of the 24 by 24 squares, except for the Inari deployment zone. Now, when the non-vehicle Yonari ends within 1 inch of an objective, on a 1 to 5, remove it from play. On a 6, it's the Crone Sword. The last one is always the Crone Sword if it hasn't come up. And it's not like if you're holding the objective, it's just if you're within 1 inch of it at all.
Oh, okay. That means that something like jet bikes or whatnot could really bounce out there and grab that stuff pretty quickly.
Yeah. And if the Incarnate has been slain, it returns when the sword is revealed, as close as possible to the position with 5 wounds and rampage, which sounds nice.
Sounds cuddly.
And don't worry, the Slaanesh player doesn't really have a deployment zone, but they get a rule called Jaws of the Trap. They can move on turn 1 from any edge except for the 24-inch space behind the Yonari deployment zone.
The Sinkhole Pit, which is...
The Sinkhole Pit, yes.
That's kind of a cool name.
So, this is an okay mission. It's not as... you can't extract as much out of it, I don't think.
Yeah.
I guess the reveal objective mechanic has been in other missions. And you can tell that they feel like the Yonari player is still on the back foot in this one, so they give them all hatred demons of Slaanesh.
Okay.
Which they kind of should have anyway.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised they don't, but...
yeah.
But who knows?
But, that's funny. Another awesome rule. I like this rule. Vast Lashing Tongue. In each of their shooting phases for the Demons of Slaanesh player can pick a single enemy unit anywhere within 24 inches of the table edge representing the Sinkhole Pit. Each model in that unit must pass an initiative test or suffer a Strength 10 AP2 hit. Vehicles suffer, whatever. So it's like this tongue licking out of the pit trying to eat people.
Kind of like the Sarlacc.
Yeah, I love that. That is so much fun. Now that's a rule I can use. That's something I can work with. How cool would that be?
Or like we're starting to rewrite stuff now. Having each one of the objective markers do that same sort of thing, like you have multiple tongues and whatnot. Like a honeycomb battlefield,
Yeah. Or you could put it in the middle with like a weird plant or something, doing something similar.
Yeah, and then put the relic right by it.
Yeah, come get it.
You know me, I'll be like, oh, this is gonna hurt, but I'm gonna get that relic.
I don't want that. I want me some relic.
That's right, and if it looks like the Lochnar, I'll fight even harder.
The Lochnar! Yes. Oh, callbacks. So the best mission in this is the War of the Webway. And I hate to harp on these multiple like battlefield missions, but I really think that they're great.
I like this one. I mean, I liked the other one from Wrath of Magnus. It had, what was it, 6?
It had 6, yeah.
I like that. I think that's a fun mechanic to have that, kind of puts you in kind of a shifting battlescape. That makes it a lot more fun.
Yeah. And there's a metagame, too, of deployment. So in this case, it's 3 24x48 battlefields. Yeah. And each player places their first 3 units. They alternate There's its alternate placement deployment in this one. Yeah. So one player places a unit, and then another player places a unit. And you have to start by placing a unit in all 3 battlefields first, and then you go after that.
Yeah, I like the way that they choose first turn also, which is, you roll a die on an odd number, the Tzeentch player has first turn. On an even, the Yonari player goes first. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. It's I guess kind of the same as rolling off, but not really, because there's no pluses or anything like that. No reroll. It's just 1 die roll. So it's pretty interesting. Now, when I played this one with Connor and his Death Watch against my orcs, and so basically to win, you have to you score 1 victory point for each battlefield you hold solely at the end of the game. So if you're the only one with units on a battlefield, you get to score a victory point. So there's no like secondary objectives or anything like that. And if you completely destroy any unit, all the enemy units in a battlefield, you can, in your next movement phase or any subsequent movement phase, you can go into ongoing reserves.
That's cool. That means you can redeploy and help reinforce your forces elsewhere.
Yeah, and when you arrive along your own short table edge. So, and you can pick any of the other battlefields you want. But what this does is it creates an entire turn where a player could have sole domination of a battlefield. It doesn't make it a kind of a free-for-all to like, you can't just take them off at the end of your turn and then bring them right back at the beginning of your next turn. You have to wait a whole turn before you can actually shift battlefields.
Yeah. That could be interesting. You're going to really play that long game, though, because this is a variable game length. So, yeah. Yep,
and it did come down to it. It did swing back and forth where I was winning, he was winning. We ended up in a tie at the end because we had a model in every. At least I think that's how it ended up. But he had the strategy of, okay, I'm going to deep strike most of my stuff in this one deployment zone. I'm going to hide my Death Watch Dreadnought over here, make him drive all the way across the battlefield to kill it. In the middle one, and then the right one was a lot more just balanced. It had an even number of my guys versus his guys. So he was banking on wiping out one battlefield and then just quickly moving on to another one. But I saw what he was doing and I ran away like a... I ran away. I'm like, oh, I see what's happening here. Later. And, after the Death Watch Deep Strike, there's not a lot of movement going on.
No.
They're slowly moving forward, and I'm like, I have 14 armor on the front. So I was able to hold him off over there until the end. And the middle, like I said, it was tough getting to that Dreadnought, and I did finally kill it. But at the end, I think we both held one, and we drew on another one.
Okay.
So it was super fun. I really liked it. One thing I did that it didn't really say in the rules, but my orcs had a bunch of psychers because I thought it made sense, and we wanted to try out the Empiric Storm table from Fall of Cadia, and I rolled the jump on my orc powers. I'm like, dude, I got the jump. It basically teleports me. So I'm wondering, I'm like, dude, I should be able to teleport between battlefields, right? And he's like, yeah, I think so. Yeah. Like, that makes sense, right? So in the first turn of the game, I used a jump to jump over to the table where he's got this heavy presence, right? And I jump in, and my orc, my weird boy perils and rolls a 1. So I teleport over, and the Flash gets teleport over, but the weird boy is gone. He disappeared. Like, what happened to him? I don't know. I like to think that the weird boy himself became the portal that sent them over.
Works for me.
And then in another part of the game, on the Empiric Storm table, I actually rolled the result where one unit teleports to another part of the board. So it happened again. I moved over to the other one. It was really, really funny. It was really good.
This does sound fun. Sounds like a good fun game.
Yeah, it was a good game. It was. I could definitely play that again. So, do you want a quick chat about some of these generic rules?
Let's try this out.
I think a lot of other podcasts have talked about the strength from death. I don't think there's really a need for us to get too much into it, except it makes Eldar just as mobile as they were before.
Yeah.
I think they get extra actions as stuff dies or as their stuff dies, and that's really cool. It's really narrative for the army. It would be cooler if there was some kind of knowledge sort of aspect to it. So like if the unit that died, if one unit kills another unit and they use strength from death, that maybe they would be able to use one of that unit's special rules until the end of the phase or until the end of the turn. I think that would have been really cool because of how, but I guess it would only be for Eldar units.
Well,
because of the way the spirits,
Eldari,
the sharing of this. So yeah, the Eldari. Yeah, Eldari units, yeah.
Sorry, now they've got the new name that made some people rage. I've got to use it now.
That's really funny. So I guess it's kind of abstracted by the extra actions, but it would have been cooler if they could kind of share some special rules. Yeah. Just because of that soul transfer thing. The tactical objectives are cool, just like you'd expect. They've got some additional fun things. The artifacts are really cool. I think we'll talk about. I have two that I used in my list, so we'll talk about those when we talk about the lists. The thing is, I think a lot of Dark Eldar players are happy because they have some proper artifacts and stuff.
Yeah, this I think does a lot for the Dark Eldar players, actually. Mini Wargaming did a couple of battle reports using basically what they said, it used to be a weak Dark Eldar force, and the new rules made them considerably stronger very quickly. So,
that's good. Yeah, I'm glad. I think that these warlord traits are pretty okay. There are lots of special rules getting added for whatever reason. Fearless and move through cover, yada yada. It will not die. Lots, basically stuff we've come to expect from warlord traits.
Yeah.
But all in all, I think folks are really happy with it. I've heard a lot of good things. You can't, power-wise, you really can't crank Eldar up much farther anyways, so you're not really... You're just making a lot more different units more viable in a competitive sense, and you're adding some fun homogenization for people who really like playing combined Eldar.
Yeah. I think that's important. I like the idea of them being combined, because then you can use all sorts of cool little models and make your forces look more interesting.
Yeah. So why don't we talk about our lists? Jason, do you want to go first?
Yeah, let me pull that up real quick. Okay, so what we did was there are two detachments. There's the Ulthway Strike Force and the Reborn Warhorse. War Host. Not Warhorse.
That's the mechanical warhorse. Sorry.
Yeah. So I wanted to look at the Ulthway Strike Force detachment because one of the things I remember saying when the original or the last Craft World Eldar book was dropped that I would have been totally stoked if they'd done like factions, like here's an Ulthway detachment, here's a Biel-Tan, here's the orange and blue ones. I don't remember. But you know what I mean. They have a detachment or formation specifically for each craft world. I thought that'd be really cool. And they didn't have that, so I was, kind of disappointed with that. But now we actually have an Ulthway Strike Force, which I find to be pretty cool. So they've got some special rules, Ancient Doom, which means they have hatred towards Slaanesh, or Slaanesh demons, or any CSM with Marcus Slaanesh. When they make a fear test, well, we won't go through all the rules, but there's Ancient Doom, there's Battle Focus, heavy weapons platforms, Webway Assault, which units can be placed in Deep Strike Reserve instead of deploying. And when they arrive, they will not scatter, but none of the models may be placed within 9 inches of any enemy models, because you know how much Eldar like to get into Assault. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So for this attachment, you must have one compulsory choice to four choices. So it's 1 to 4, and they're elite choices taken from the following units, which are the Black Guardians, which are essentially the Storm Guardian models, Pandas Ulthway. Then you have Black Guardian Wind Riders, which are jet bikes. Black Guardian Viper Squadron, which is Vipers, as you might have guessed. And the fourth one is Black Guardian Warwalkers. Can you guess what model that might be? Very good. I knew you could. So anyway, you have to take 1 to 4 of any of these in any, whatever your choice is. Let's see. Other special rules. Desperate Times, Desperate Measures. All have stubborn and preferred enemy special rules if the enemy army contains units from CSM, Chaos Space Marines, Demons, Khorne Demonkin, and or Renegade Knights. If the detachment contains 4 units, so it's a max units, its units can roll to arrive from Deep Strike Reserve from turn 1, which I think is pretty fun. I have not played Eldar. I've painted Eldar, but I have not played them. But if I was going to, I'd probably run a bike-heavy list. So I actually did create a Strike Force, an Ulthway Strike Force list.
Cool.
And I put mine together as a 1,000-point list, just for a team game or a Mad Max-style chase pursuit scenario, because that always sounds fun to me. Always. And what I did was I split them into 2 detachments of the Strike Force. Each detachment has 4 units of jet bikes, so it'd have the max number of units. There'd be 8 jet bike units total, so 50 models, which that's a few.
That's a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot.
But with the new, you could use Dark Eldar bikes if you wanted to.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing is, I'll tell you some. You'll understand why the numbers are so high in a minute. Each unit would have 6 models, except for 2 that would have 7. No scatter lasers. Basically, just to keep that scat laser cheese to a minimum. So, I mean, the shuriken cannons, I think, are what's taken, so that would still be there. That would still be pretty nasty, but you wouldn't have the scat laser thing that annoys people. I suspect it's probably a decent list without the scat lasers, but because Eldar, I'm just looking for a fast list that would be fun to play, that I could run around the table, kind of like what I think a White Scars bike army should be like, fast, mobile, all over the place.
Yeah, and you have the Webway Assault, which they basically start wherever they want on the battlefield.
Yeah.
But when they come out, so they can support when they come in from reserve, and they have pretty good range when they do it too. So it's this shadowy hit and fade kind of army list that packs pretty good punch. That sounds great.
I think it could be fun.
Sounds like fun.
I did note in my notes. I noted in my notes. Very nice. My previous list from episode, I don't know, whatever Wrath of Magnus was, the tabletop. The list of Arman and his exiles would work well in this book because Arman shows up so often. So. What about you, man? What have you got?
Well, I was most interested in the Reborn Warhost. I love the idea of the combined Eldar, and it's no secret that even we've talked about this many times. The Dark Eldar and the Eldar and the Harlequins are not natural enemies. They are natural. They are Eldar. killer bees attack the United States, I'm pretty sure both major parties would bind together to destroy the killer bees. Well, in this case, humanity and Slaanesh are the killer bees, and and the Eldar are binding together, and I like that idea of all these disparate groups working together. So I came up with a narrative for my list, and it really makes me want to build this list.
Yeah, that's the problem.
So we have Hazael Brightborn, who's an autarch. Yeah. He has a twin named Kernizea. They grew up together in the nascent days of kind of the burgeoning Imperium.
So many consonants, no vowels. Wow, I'm actually looking at the spelling on that, and I applaud you, sir.
Yeah, a vowel doesn't show up until like the fifth character.
I applaud you for being able to figure out what that was, but it sounds right, so good job.
Kernizea Brightborn eventually kind of fell away from her craft world and became a part of the Dark City. Right, yeah. Became a major player in the Dark City. So her name now is Kernizea Darkfall.
Ooh,
she's an Archon, but she's got a lot of influence. So she's got her own. She has access to the webway. She has a webway portal. Now, this list represents these two characters kind of following the Inari. And once again, coming to each other after hundreds and hundreds of years apart, of kind of disassociating themselves from their family and from each other, and they finally come together and find common accord through this cult of death or whatever, this Eldar Ynnari situation. So it's kind of a beautiful, the thought of it could be like this beautiful story where this family is kind of reborn from the ashes of the death of the Eldar.
I could only keep my laughter down so long, dude.
What? It's nice.
It is cute. It's just dark Eldar. Come on.
Yeah, it's true. So these two, the Craft World Eldar, autarch, I gave him wings because I thought it would be cool for him to kind of be this kind of angel of death now, as part of the Inari. And I gave him mirror gaze, which is cool. It's this mask that's covered in tiny mosaic shards, creating this kind of weird crystal mirror. The wearer has blind, counterattack, and night vision.
Okay.
So that will be really cool for things like if they get assaulted or whatever. And Kernizea has the Korag High's locket, which when the bear destroys one or more enemy models in the fight subphase, roll a dice before removing any casualties. On a 4 or more, the bear regains a lost wound. So she's got this locket that she uses to ingest the life force of a dying enemy.
Okay.
I thought that was neat because, she's trying to she's kind of using that to replace the torture and all that. But they both kind of have this whole dark death vibe to them, which I thought was really cool.
Those are some pretty cool HQs. I like your background stories for them. I'm assuming These are your background stories that you haven't picked. Okay,
yes.
These are cool. I was like, these sound really awesome. Are these... Yeah.
Nothing new under the sun, I'm sure, but yeah, this is what I've crafted for them. And there are a few other ones, like there's one that gives Feel No Pain and stuff like that, but these are the ones I chose for these characters because I wanted the characters to be specific. So, for the formation itself, all right, the Reborn Warhorse detachment is Very similar to the Imperial one from the last book, except it's a lot less restrictive. You unlock the abilities if you have 7 or more units. And that's way easier than maxing out the detachment.
Yeah.
By a large margin. It's 1 to 2 HQs, 0 to 3 of all others, except for troops, which are 2 to 6. It's like a regular... It's kind of like a regular CAD in that way.
And 0 to 1 Lord of War.
Yeah, and the Lord of War, of course, which you can use to bring. But at the same time, you can also use it to add formations. There's no... The formations don't satisfy any of the requirements, but the formations can be a part of the detachment. And there are lots, pretty much, it seems like all of them from... or at least many of them from the Codex. Codex Craft World. So that's really nice. And I actually do have a formation in here, but we'll get to that. So they get stubborn and it doesn't have to make morale checks when it loses 25% of its models if within 7 inches, which is really cool. And if they have 7 or more units in the war host, an additional unit may soul burst every time a unit is destroyed. That is kind of amazing. These 2 soul bursts coming off at the same time. So that's really cool. But aside from that, I think the important thing is this is a list that combines all the Eldar. So you can make whatever narrative you want based on that. I think that's fantastic. So I have my twins reunited after all these years.
Reunited.
So
no, that's not going on as our intro music. There you go.
What's great is I think in my head the narrative is they actually were able to like find each other because of a small troop of Harlequins who were obsessed with telling that story, of having that story come alive. And I would think that there might be some kind of Harlequin tale of like that tale being told of a brother and sister brought together in death to live once more. So like that kind of thing. So in this, I also have a troop and a Star Weaver as one of the troops. And then I TROUPE as a TROOP and 2 elites. I put 2 Death Jesters because I thought, I think there are going to be a lot of Eldar picking up the Death Jester mantle, personally. And note that there's also some Skyweavers as part of a formation. So some of those Harlequins all there to witness this story unfold at the end of times. I also have Hazael Brightborn's units are a couple Guardian Defenders with a Warlock. So that's 2 units of those. And he's also got some Fire Dragons and a Wave Serpent following him, which is nice. That adds a little bit of punch to the army. He's also followed by a Warlock Conclave. And I thought maybe if I were to paint this up, I might actually do those as Uthway instead.
Yeah. Well, that'd be fun.
Because I think the Uthway are probably going to spread out those Warlocks among all the different Ynnari battle groups to support. That Warlock Conclave is part of the Ennead's net formation as well as jet bikes, and of course some Wind Riders as well from the Eldar portion.
Yeah.
Kernizea She has come with a couple units of witches in Venoms. So the witches are really cool. They'll jump. They're gonna move forward and work with the bikes. Actually, they're gonna support the bikes as an assault option, and maybe the bikes will jump in. And if the witches give their lives, the bikes will get extra phases that they can use. In addition, I have a unit of Cabalite Trueborn who are going to be hanging out with Kernizea and giving her some added support, going with her in her Webway portal. Then I have a unit of Reavers also in the Inead's net. So I guess at this point I should zoom over to that Inead's net and tell you what it is. It's basically just one of each unit of jet bikes. It's really, it's very, just very simple. What's cool about it is when it comes in from reserve, they all come in all at once, and each one comes in off of a different board edge.
That could be a lot of fun to run. I mean,
isn't that neat? That's really cool.
And that'd be something like the thing that I put together for the Oathway Strike Force. Lots of bikes just all over the place would be a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Also, if one of the units from the formation is destroyed, or if one of the units destroys another enemy unit, the warlocks absorb some of that energy, and they get an extra dice for the next psychic phase.
Oh boy.
Isn't that
that's
neat?
Pretty cool.
So this is a really cool thing. So that's about 2,000 points. And I just love the way the narrative unfolded for me. I loved it. I'm like, oh, I really want to do this.
Yeah.
If I were to escalate to 2,500 points, I'd just go ahead and take that Eldari Blade Host, which is all the troops. 2 units of witches, 2 units of Storm Guardians, and 2 Harlequin troops. And you can declare that the whole formation is united in death, and a soul burst action. If one of them does a soul burst action, they can all do that same soul burst action.
Cool.
Once per turn. Yeah. It's like a giant Eldar Wog. It's unreal.
Which is the way you're going to play Eldar, like a Wog. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And if they're both fighting the same enemy unit in the fight phase, they get hatred because they're fighting together to kill. So I think this is a great mixture of the different forces. I think it would tell a pretty cool story too. And I would just paint it all red because why not?
It makes it go faster. Faster. Sorry.
Yeah, it makes them go faster. That's right. So I guess we didn't really talk about the triumvirate. Again, a lot of these things are gonna be covered by other people. I would check out the
Forge the Narrative.
Forge the Narrative, and especially
Splinter Mind.
Splinter Mind. Yeah, they have. I just listened to it a couple days ago because after we did our fluff episode, or our narrative on your table or in the lore episode, I was like, well, I guess I can feel safe in listening to this again, and they kind of had a similar result we did. But yeah, I definitely want to check this out if you're an Eldar player, Dark Eldar player, especially if you're a Dark Eldar player. The Vizark makes an excellent HQ for your Dark Eldar. The Yvraine herself, she's more of a psyker, so you might only kind of. I think she's very much not just a psyker for psyker's sake. She takes a psychic army and makes it better. So she's one you want to include if you are using psychers, really.
Plus, she has a really rad cat.
And the cat is totally rad. That is correct. All right, great. Do you have anything to add on your tabletop, Jason?
No. I think this is a pretty fun little list of rules and group of rules. I don't know if I would be.
Yeah.
I mean, full disclosure, I did pick up the Triumvirate because whatever.
Yeah, why not?
So yeah, why not? So at some point I'll have to, run Eldar. I just don't know what I will do because I don't want to build and paint 50 jet bikes because I have a soul. It's still there.
We are at least at Flipside, we're doing we're all very. You know what? Let's take a break and we'll talk a little bit more about this before we close out the show. Hey, Masters of the Forge listeners, are you looking to expand your Warhammer 40,000 gaming group?
Do you want to start a 40k club in your area?
Do you want the people you attract to be like-minded mofos?
Do you want to advertise your YouTube channel?
Or even attract more subscribers to your hobby blog or online community?
Then what better way than to advertise on the Masters of the Forge podcast?
All we ask of you is that you email us at mastersoftheforge@gmail.com or message us on Facebook with a full text of your advertisement, including the region in which you live and any contact information people can use to get a hold of you.
We will have one of our many tech servitors read your advertisement on the air. We promise not to make fun of you.
Though we can't always predict the actions of our servitors, you really can't find good help these days.
No, you can't.
This is Rob Sanders, and you're listening to the Masters of the Forge, where the world of 40k comes to life on your tabletop.
So, Jason, we're all very, very excited because a couple of days ago, or was it a day ago, whatever, news dropped like a hammer, like a sledgehammer.
You want to be?
About Armageddon, the new /old /OMG skirmish game that we're getting this spring. I think next month they said.
Yeah.
It's basically Necromunda, except all factions. Well, okay. Almost all factions are going to be represented in the rules.
Yeah, like 17.
Some of the factions that have no business running around in the basements of a hive world aren't represented, or at least not yet. But it's very exciting, and maybe Eldar is the race. Eldar is the Eldar is the race I should use to put together
Eldari.
Eldari, yes.
There we go.
Maybe I should put together a team of models for that.
Do it.
Start this off. Start a small Eldari force, and just use it for Armageddon for a little while before I expand it. I think that would be nice.
Yeah, our local group. I say group with the whatever. The local players that are starting to form into a group are still not gelled yet. Have been talking about it quite a bit on Facebook. So I think that I will be, doing that. Because at one point I was going to do a bunch of kill team lists and whatnot. But if I can use this instead and have, orcs and some space marines, and I've got some Necrons. And I've got some Tau. I don't have Necrons, I have Tau. Sorry. I can go ahead and, start building towards this thing. So, and that's really cool. I might end up playing this quite a bit because we have a lot of people in our local area who are really excited about it and they're not into the big, and I say big, like 1500, 1850 lists. They're looking at infinity size games, 12 models. And so this could be, at most. So this could be really a great way to unite my local group.
Yeah, that's really cool, dude. And it's a great gateway drug, right?
Yeah.
So I hope that our locals kind of embrace this, maybe use it as an opportunity to put some fuel into our home hobby store and pick up a box of something and paint something new and play something new. I think it'd be great. Maybe I can convince everyone to do an April kind of Armageddon Day where we all pick up a box of models and build them and come back the next week.
Well, that could be cool
with painted models.
Yeah.
I think that would be really fun. Let's I'll bring it up with the folks and see what we can get out of it.
Yeah.
But I think that's it for this week. Thanks for listening, everyone.
Yep.
Please check us out on social media. You know where to go. Facebook,
Twitter, Instagram, hashtag Masters of the Forge.
Hashtag Masters of the Forge. And I hope folks, we're getting upon our 3rd year of Masters of the Forge.
Yep.
I will probably be doing another poll, but it won't be as many questions as it usually is. I think I know the answers to all of the kind of demographics at this point. What I am going to ask about is the format. I think it's been successful. So I'll tell you right now that the numbers work out to about, our lore episodes are a little less than double our tabletop episodes.
Yeah.
And that's in downloads, and that's kind of to be expected, I think.
Yeah.
I honestly didn't realize people manually downloaded episodes, but I guess that's a thing. I just automatically download all my episodes.
I do too.
But I can see why, and I could tell that from kind of our past couple of polls. And that's why we did this. That's why we went to the weekly format. That's why we split it between tabletop and lore, because I know there's people who would prefer to just skip it, and that's fine. But keep in mind, like we did in this episode, I mean, I guess the folks I'm talking to now are the wrong people to tell, but we did have some nice narrative discussion within the lore, within the tabletop.
Yeah.
Stuff. So I'm not sure if folks know that, but it's their choice and it's good, and I think we'll continue to do it, but I think I am going to take it to the people, see if folks prefer this method over what we were doing before, which was 2 to 3 hours per episode. This one's long because it has an interview in it, but so there's that. But anyways, it's cool. Thank you so much for listening, everyone, and we'll see you next week, where we're going to start talking about some Imperial Knights. I know folks are probably a little fatigued from the campaign talk.
Yeah, big stompy robots.
Big stompy robots.
Yeah.
Talk to you soon. What do we say? Do we say a thing? What are we going to do? What are we doing next week?
Well, I always say play the game the way you want to.
There we go. That's what we're looking for.
And then you say...
And I say... Good night, Gracie?
No, not that one.
Jesus take the wheel?
No, it's not water slide transfers either.
Deckles?
Yes, that's it.
Big Jim got that stuck in his craw the other day too. He's like, they're not Deckles.
Well, good night, everyone.
I'm like, uh-oh.
Nailed it.
The music used in this podcast was made by Parad of the duo Sublevel 3. The track is used with his permission. This podcast is protected by the Creative Commons Attribution, No Derivatives, Non-Commercial International License. More information about this license and contact information if you have any requests can be found at our blog, mastersoftheforge.com.
It's such a good feeling to play games your way. It's such a happy feeling 40K'ing away. And when you throw dice with story in mind, it's such a wonderful way to unwind. It's a good feeling, a very good feeling, the feeling you know that we'll be back when the fortnight's new, and we'll have new ideas for you, and you'll have things you'll want to talk about. We will too.